Welcome to Revisit Books podcast, where we turn books into bite-sized wisdom you can use every day. Today, we're taking an exploration of a book that it really can fundamentally change how you view success, intelligence, even your personal relationships. It's Carol S. Dweck's phenomenal work, Mindset, the new psychology of success. This is one of those ideas that, well, once you grasp it, you start seeing it everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It truly is. And this work, it comes from decades of research by Dr. Dweck. She's the Lewis and Virginia Eaton Professor of Psychology at Stanford. It's really foundational stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just, a list of tips. It's more like an operating system update for your motivation.
Yeah.
Her findings were so compelling, she was actually elected to the National Academy of Sciences for it.
Wow. Okay, so let's start with the origin story.
Yeah.
Because I think it really highlights the surprise element here. Dweck wasn't originally looking for different philosophies of ability, right?
Not exactly. She was observing how children coped with failure, or, well, with difficulty. She gave them puzzles, some easy, then some that were deliberately too difficult for them to solve at their age.
Okay.
And she expected to see, differences in coping strategies. Maybe some would give up quicker, others would keep trying longer, that sort of thing.
Makes sense.
But what she actually found was much deeper, more profound.
How so?
Well, the reactions she saw didn't just differ in, the amount of effort. They revealed two completely opposing worldviews about challenge itself.
Okay.
Some students reacted just like she thought they would. Frustration, wanting to quit, anxiety.
Yeah.
They saw that hard puzzle as an immediate judgment, like this proves I'm not smart.
Right. The expected reaction.
But then there was this exception, the kid who really sparked the whole idea for the book.
Ah, the 10-year-old boy story.
Exactly. That boy, he's faced with a puzzle he just can't solve. And what does he do? He literally pulls his chair closer to the table, rubs his hands together, and he seemed delighted.
Delighted by failure.
Well, by the challenge. He apparently said something like, I love a challenge, or I expected this to be hard. His response wasn't about coping. It was about his definition of what intelligence is and what a challenge represents.
So he didn't see it as a measurement of his current ability?
No. He saw it as a project, something interesting to work on for growth.
And that contrast, that's the core of the two belief systems, isn't it?
Precisely. That's where Dweck identified the two mindsets. First, you have the fixed mindset.
Okay.
This is the belief that your core qualities, intelligence, talent, even personality, are basically fixed traits. Set in stone, you got a certain amount, and that's that. You can't really change it much.
Which is kind of a pessimistic view if you think about it.
It really is. Because if you believe it's fixed and you fail, well, there's nothing you can do. It feels like you've just been exposed as inadequate permanently.
It's interesting, too, because you mentioned this challenges figures like Alfred Binet.
Right. The inventor of the IQ test. Binet himself actually argued against a fixed view. He believed fundamental cognitive skills, attention, memory, judgment could be increased through training and the right environment.
So the irony is the test often used to label fixed potential was created by someone who believed in growth.
Exactly. And Dweck's work really backs up Binet's original idea. The other side of the coin is the growth mindset.
This is the optimistic one.
It's the empowering belief, yeah. It's the idea that those qualities we cherish, intelligence, creativity, skills, they can be cultivated. They can be significantly increased through experience, through training, passion, dedication, and crucially, effort.
Effort is key here.
Effort is the path. The potential for change is seen as, well, not limitless maybe, but certainly vast. You might not start out as a genius, but you can always get better. You can prove your abilities.
Now, this is where some people might tune out thinking, okay, this just sounds like positive thinking. But you mentioned it's backed by science. Can we dig into that a bit? The neuroscience.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so compelling. Modern neuroscience completely supports the growth mindset idea. Our brains have incredible neuroplasticity.
Right.
Genes and environment aren't these separate forces. They constantly interact. Your genes actually need input from the environment to work properly, to express themselves.
So learning isn't just abstract, it's physical.
It's physical. Every time you push yourself, learn something new and challenging, you are literally forging and strengthening neural connections in your brain. You're physically changing its structure.
That's powerful.
It really is. Think about practice. Neurons that fire together wire together, right? Their connections get stronger. And there's research on the myelin sheath, too, that fatty layer around nerve fibers. Purposeful, intense practice seems to make that sheath thicker and healthier, and that lets signals travel faster and more efficiently. So effort literally makes your brain work better,
Hmm.
faster,
Hmm.
smarter in a functional sense.
So it's not just trying hard, it's actually building a better machine.
You got it. That's why experts like Robert Sternberg say the biggest factor in developing expertise isn't some fixed gift. It's purposeful engagement. It's the dedication to push your boundaries. The growth mindset is basically aligning your philosophy with biological fact.
Wow. That reframing changes everything. Potential isn't a snapshot from today, it's about the work you put in over time. People like Darwin, Tolstoy, apparently considered pretty ordinary as kids.
Right. It completely undermines the idea of just innate genius. It shifts the core question from, am I smart enough right now, to how can I get better? And that changes how you approach pretty much everything.
Okay, let's talk about who this is really for. Who benefits most from understanding this? You mentioned the information seeker who feels overwhelmed.
Yes, absolutely. First, it's for the information seeker. Think about all the self-help advice out there. Be confident, take more risks, be resilient. It's often just a list of commands.
Right, but know how.
Exactly. It doesn't explain how to build those qualities. If you're operating from a fixed mindset, being told to be resilient when you fail feels impossible. Failure proves you lack the ability, so how can you bounce back?
So the mindset framework provides the underlying mechanism.
It provides the how. It shows that resilience isn't some magic trait you're born with. It's the result of believing failure is temporary, that you can learn and improve. It gives you the psychological foundation to actually use that advice.
So it's like the missing piece that makes other advice actually work when things get tough.
That's a great way to put it. If you hit a wall and your core belief is, this wall proves I can't do this, no amount of rah-rah motivation helps. But if your belief is, okay, this approach isn't working, what else can I try? Then you can actually tackle the wall.
Okay, who else? You mentioned aspiring achievers, parents, educators, particularly during tough transitions.
Yes, crucial for the aspiring achiever and also parents and educators. Dweck's research tracks students moving into more challenging environments, like junior high or graduate school. Big jumps in difficulty.
Great.
In easier settings, like elementary school, the fixed and growth mindset kids often look similar on paper. Good grades, maybe? But when the work got genuinely hard, when raw talent wasn't enough anymore.
That's when the mindsets diverged.
Dramatically. The fixed mindset students often started to crater. Their performance declined. They'd say things like, I must be dumb, I don't belong here. Their reaction wasn't to double down on effort. It was often to withdraw effort, to protect their self-image of being smart. Because trying hard and failing would be the ultimate confirmation of inadequacy.
And the growth mindset students.
They saw the difficulty as, well, part of the process, the point, even. They stayed engaged, they tried different strategies, they put in more focused effort, and over time, their performance, relative to their fixed mindset peers, actually improved during these tough transitions.
That's a powerful demonstration. It's not just about ability, it's about the approach.
It really underscores that. And this links directly to parenting and teaching. The advice on praise is so counterintuitive but important.
Praising intelligence, you're so smart. That feels natural, but Dweck says it's damaging. Why?
The research is pretty clear on this. When you praise kids for an innate trait like intelligence, they internalize the message, being smart is who I am, and that's what makes me valuable.
Okay.
So what happens next? They become terrified of doing anything that might challenge that smart label. They start avoiding difficult tasks where they might fail. They might even lie about their scores to protect that identity. They choose looking smart over actually learning.
Wow. So praising the trait locks them into a fixed mindset.
Pretty much. But if you praise the process, wow, you worked really hard on that problem, or that was a clever strategy you tried, or I like how you kept going even when it got tough, you're focusing on things they can control. Effort, strategy, persistence.
Things that fuel the growth mindset. So challenge becomes an opportunity, not a threat to their identity.
Exactly. You shift the focus from a static who you are to a dynamic what you do.
And the last group, people navigating setbacks, relationships. Loretta's story was quite striking.
Yes, crucial for the person navigating setbacks in relationships. Loretta's story is heartbreaking, but illustrative. At age 5, she took some test and didn't initially get into the Eagles, the top kindergarten group.
Okay.
She eventually got moved into the group, did well, got awards. But decades later, she still felt like she wasn't a true Eagle, like she didn't really belong.
Because of that one test at age 5.
Because she interpreted that single data point through a fixed mindset. It became a permanent label. I'm not really one of the smart ones. It defined her self-worth for years.
That shows the incredible weight a fixed mindset gives to single events. Failure becomes identity.
It does. One failure, one rejection, one bad score can feel like a permanent judgment. That's why this is so vital for anyone who feels defined by a past failure, a layoff, a divorce, a bombed presentation. The growth mindset offers a path to reinterpret that event as a learning experience, not a final verdict.
And in relationships, you mentioned the compatibility trap.
Yes, this is huge in relationships. The fixed mindset looks for the perfect match. Instant compatibility, effortless connection, meant to be.
The soulmate myth.
Pretty much. And the dangerous part is, when challenges inevitably arise, disagreements, needing to work on communication, the initial spark may be fading a bit. The fixed mindset concludes, uh-oh, if we have to work at it, it must not be the right relationship. Something is fundamentally wrong.
Which denies the reality of relationships needing effort.
Completely. Relationship experts like Aaron Beck and John Gottman confirm this belief is incredibly damaging. Real, deep relationships require ongoing effort, communication, negotiation, growth.
So a great relationship isn't found, it's built through growth.
Precisely. The growth mindset understands that you, your partner, and the relationship itself are all capable of development. You choose a partner, and you choose a set of problems to solve together. You focus on learning and growing together.
Okay, that provides a really solid foundation. Let's move into the key takeaways. What are the big shifts in thinking this requires? Let's start with that idea about effort and naturals.
Right. Takeaway 1, effort versus the myth of the natural. Our society, well, we romanticize effortless achievement, don't we?
We love the idea of the genius who just is. Yeah. Michael Jordan, Mozart, popping out fully formed.
Exactly. We tend to downplay the sheer grinding work behind great achievements because somehow admitting the struggle seems to diminish the magic. We like the story of innate, superhuman talent.
That pressure to seem effortlessly perfect, I've read about that anxiety in high achievers.
That's pure fixed mindset pressure. If you believe talent is innate, then needing to exert effort feels like, well, like proof you don't really have the talent. Effort becomes shameful, an admission of weakness.
But when you actually look at the lives of these icons, the reality is different.
Totally different. It's almost always a story of incredible, sustained effort, the growth mindset in action. Take Babe Ruth. We think of him as this natural slugger. But early in his pro career, he was mainly a pitcher. His hitting power wasn't just there from day one. His biographer talks about his total commitment to perfecting his swing. He practiced batting constantly, day after day, even when veteran players resented him taking up practice time. He literally built that power through dedicated work.
And Michael Jordan, often held up as the epitome of natural talent.
But his story is maybe the ultimate growth mindset example. People remember the dunks, the winning shots, but they forget he was cut from his high school varsity team.
Right.
After losing a key college game, he didn't just go home. He went straight to the gym and practiced for hours, already thinking about next season. He was known for relentlessly working on his weaknesses. Things like his defense, his ball handling weren't initially elite. His coach was reportedly amazed by his work ethic, how he outworked everyone, especially on the skills he wasn't naturally gifted at.
He wasn't content with his natural talent. He wanted to keep building.
Always building. Contrast that with someone like John McEnroe. Hugely talented tennis player.
Legendary talent.
But he himself admitted he didn't fulfill his potential. Why? He said he did not love to learn and did not thrive on challenges. When things got tough, the fixed mindset took over. He didn't look inward at his game. He looked outward for excuses.
Ah, yes, the famous McEnroe excuses.
The temperature, the court surface, a noise in the crowd, feeling slightly ill, eating too close to the match. Anything but, I need to improve my strategy, or my opponent played better today. Because in a fixed world, if the problem is him, that means his fixed talent isn't enough. And that's terrifying.
That fear leads to meltdowns, racket smashing, like Billy Beane in baseball too, right? Destroying things after striking out.
Exactly. It's the inability to handle the implication that effort is needed, because talent alone isn't sufficient. The moment effort becomes necessary, the fixed mindset natural often crumbles or lashes out, ensuring they don't actually push through to the next level.
That's a huge realization. Effort isn't a sign of weakness, it's the engine of growth, which leads perfectly to the next point about failure.
Right. Takeaway 2. Failure is an action, not an identity. This is critical. In a fixed mindset, failure feels catastrophic. It morphs instantly from an action, I failed at this specific task, into an identity, I am a failure.
And that creates this paralyzing fear of taking risks.
Absolutely. Dweck talks about her own childhood fear avoiding spelling bees or French contests because she was terrified of being exposed as not smart, of shifting from winner to loser in everyone's eyes. The fixed mindset creates this desperate urgency to succeed right now because failure feels permanent.
You see parents doing this with tiny kids, right? Freaking out if their 3-year-old doesn't get into the right preschool, seeing it as a permanent verdict.
Yes. And on a larger scale, in business or sports, the fixed response to major failure is often denial, blame, or just giving up.
Like the Scott Paper example.
Perfect example. When Procter & Gamble entered their market aggressively, Scott Paper, the leader then, basically went into a fixed mindset huddle. Instead of rising to the challenge, developing new strategies, they reportedly focused on finding ways to feel superior to other, weaker competitors. Deflecting, making excuses, rather than confronting the reality that P&G was outmaneuvering them.
Avoiding the painful truth to protect the ego.
Classic fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But the growth mindset, it sees setbacks completely differently. Failure isn't a verdict, it's data. It's information.
This didn't work. What can I learn? What's another way?
Precisely. The goal is to confront the obstacle, analyze why the approach failed, and try something new. Think about Jim Marshall, the NFL player.
Oh, the wrong way run.
The infamous wrong way run. Recovered a fumble, got disoriented, ran 66 yards the wrong way for an opponent's safety. On national TV, could have been career-ending humiliation.
A fixed mindset person might just disappear after that.
Right. But Marshall owned it. He faced the media, apologized, used it as fuel. He didn't let that action define his identity. He showed resilience. He learned from a spectacular mistake and moved forward. It became a story about overcoming embarrassment, not about being incompetent.
In Christopher Reeve's story after his accident, that's an extreme example of growth mindset in action.
The ultimate, perhaps. After his paralysis, the medical consensus was fixed. Accept your limitations, you'll never move below the neck again. His intense physical therapy, using electrical stimulation, doctors saw it as denial, setting himself up for disappointment.
But he saw it differently.
He saw it as a project, a growth project. He focused on the process of stimulating his nerves, asking, why not? What's possible? He was exploring neuroplasticity, not just hoping for a miracle return to his old self. He didn't accept the fixed diagnosis as the final word.
And he did eventually regain some movement, didn't he? Defying those initial prognoses.
He did. Years later, achieving things deemed medically impossible. He focused on the process of maximizing potential within his new reality, not on the fixed label of paralyzed.
Which brings us to that simple but powerful tool, the word yet.
Ah, the power of yet. So simple, so profound. Think about smart students entering a really tough new environment, like grad school. Suddenly they're surrounded by brilliant people, experienced faculty. They feel like imposters.
I can't do this. I'm not smart enough.
Exactly. They're comparing their current skill set to a finished product, a fixed standard. The growth mindset just adds one word, yet.
I don't know how to write this kind of proposal yet. I haven't mastered this statistical method yet.
Right. It acknowledges the current gap, but frames it as temporary. It says, my current skills were fine for undergrad, but I need new ones for this level, and I can acquire them. That little word keeps the door open for learning and effort instead of slamming it shut with a fixed judgment.
Okay, let's scale this up. How do these mindsets play out in big organizations and leadership? You mentioned the talent trap.
Yes. Takeaway 3. Mindsets in leadership and organizations. For a long time, especially in American business, there was this obsession with talent. The belief that success comes from finding people with innate, fixed abilities.
The naturals.
The talent mindset.
And this fostered environments where fixed mindset executives often rose to the top. And their goal wasn't always about growing the company. It was sometimes about using the company to prove their own fixed superiority. This leads to what's called CEO disease.
CEO disease. What does that look like in practice?
It's when the leader needs constant validation. They surround themselves with yes men, people who flatter them and tell them how brilliant they are. They become allergic to bad news or criticism because it threatens their image of fixed genius.
Okay.
And because they need to constantly prove they're great, they often focus on short-term wins, things that make them look good now, like boosting the quarterly stock price, rather than investing in the tough long-term strategies needed for sustainable health, which might involve admitting problems or making difficult changes.
Can you give an example of that? Lee Iacocca at Chrysler is often mentioned. Huge personality, massive ego, partly from being fired by Ford earlier. He seemed to use Chrysler as a platform to prove his personal brilliance. Reports suggest he focused heavily on his public image, lavish perks,
Right.
rather than making the really critical, maybe less glamorous long-term investments in things like fundamental car design or manufacturing processes that the company desperately needed at the time. The CEO's validation seemed to overshadow the company's future health.
So they filter out the negative feedback until it's too late.
Pretty much. Another example often cited is Al Dunlap, Chainsaw Al. His focus was ruthless cost-cutting. He saw employees almost as fixed assets to be preened to make the numbers look good quickly. He even said his motivation was about proving his own worth, things like employee morale or long-term capability building. Not on his radar. It was all about hitting that quarterly profit target to validate his tough genius's persona.
Okay, so that's the fixed leader. How does the growth leader operate differently?
It's a night and day difference. Growth leaders, like the level 5 leaders Jim Collins described, are often more self-effacing. They're not about proving they're the smartest person in the room. They're focused on confronting the brutal facts of their business, asking hard questions, even about themselves.
And
Crucially, they are deeply invested in personnel development. They believe people can grow, learn, and improve. They see their job as building the capability of the entire team, not just showcasing their own.
Lou Gerstner turning around IBM is a prime example, right?
Perfect example. IBM in the early 90s was seen as dying. Its culture was notoriously fixed, arrogant, siloed, resistant to change. People thought basic management styles were just inherent traits. Gerstner came in, and Wall Street was initially unimpressed because he didn't make flashy, immediate cuts.
What did he do instead?
He focused on changing the culture. He pushed for collaboration, customer focus, teamwork. He fundamentally believed that managers and employees could change, learn new skills, adopt new attitudes. He invested in developing people. It was a slower, harder path, but it was about building long-term capability, and it ultimately saved the company.
So the fixed leader asks, am I great? The growth leader asks, how can we all get better?
That's a great summary. True confidence for a growth leader comes from facilitating growth in others, not just puffing up their own ego.
Okay, final key takeaway. Bring it right back to our personal lives. Relationships. We touched on the compatibility track. Let's unpack that more.
Right. Takeaway 4. Relationships are built, not found. This fixed mindset about love and compatibility is, well, it's everywhere, and it's pretty destructive.
The idea that it should be effortless if it's meant to be.
Exactly. The search for the perfect fit, instant harmony, zero conflict. Like a Disney movie, it sets people up for disappointment because reality involves bumps, disagreements, needing to work on things.
And when those bumps happen,
the fixed mindset interprets them as proof of incompatibility. See, we argue. We have different opinions. This must mean we're not right for each other. It ignores that working through differences is actually how intimacy is often built.
So if effort is needed, the fixed mindset sees it as a sign of failure.
Precisely. And relationship experts agree. That belief is toxic. It leads people to give up too easily or to constantly search for a mythical, perfect partner who requires no effort.
And when flaws inevitably show up in a partner, what's the fixed reaction?
It usually defaults to blame, specifically blaming the partner's fixed traits. It's not, you forgot to take out the trash, an action. It's, you are lazy or you are inconsiderate. Of fixed identity.
Which makes the problem feel unsolvable.
Exactly. If the problem is a fixed trait, what's the point in trying to address it? It leads to anger, contempt, resentment, because you feel trapped with this flawed, unchangeable person.
Dweck's example of Penelope, the woman rejecting potential partners for minor flaws.
Yeah, Penelope was operating in full fixed mindset mode, rejecting great guys because one wore white shoes, or gave a gift she deemed tacky, or wasn't perfectly fit. She was looking for perfection, assuming any flaw was a fatal sign the match wasn't destined. She couldn't see that relationships involve accepting imperfections and growing together.
It sounds exhausting, constantly judging and labeling.
It is. The growth mindset, in contrast, accepts that relationships involve 3 growing entities: you, your partner, and the bond between you. All are capable of development. Relationship expert Daniel Weil's quote is relevant here. When you choose a long-term partner, you inevitably choose a particular set of unsolvable problems.
Choose your problems.
Choose your problems. The growth mindset accepts this and focuses on communication, understanding, and navigating those problems together. It focuses on the actions and communication patterns, not fixed personality judgments.
Like the couple, Brenda and Jack.
Right. Initially in conflict, their internal monologue was all fixed labels. Brenda is boring. Jack is selfish. Which felt like dead ends. But when they shifted to a growth approach, they looked at the communication dynamics.
What did they find?
They realized Brenda was hesitant to voice her desires, which led Jack to make decisions without her input. which then felt selfish to her. The problem wasn't boring or selfish personalities. It was a communication process that needed fixing. They could work on that.
So moving from labeling the person to addressing the behavior, it makes the relationship a project you can work on.
Absolutely. The growth mindset's definition of a successful relationship isn't effortless perfection. It's they worked happily ever after. The worked part is key. It implies effort, communication, learning, developing strategies together. That effort builds the relationship. It doesn't signify its failure.
This has been incredibly insightful. It really paints a clear picture of how these two mindsets shape so much. As we wrap up, what's the single most important message for someone listening, maybe recognizing some fixed mindset patterns in themselves?
I think the most crucial and hopeful message is simply this. Mindsets can change. They aren't wired in permanently. They're beliefs. And beliefs, with awareness and effort, can absolutely be changed.
So it's not like discovering your eye color. It's more like choosing a different lens to look through.
That's a great analogy. Just becoming aware of the two mindsets is a huge first step. You start to notice that fixed mindset voice in your head, the one that wants to avoid challenges, feels judged by failure, blames others quickly.
You can catch it in the act.
You can catch it.
Yeah.
And then you can consciously choose a different response. You can intercept the I can't do this and ask, okay, what strategy haven't I tried yet? Or what can I learn from this setback? Even really tough experiences like Dweck's cousin Kathy facing divorce can be reframed. Instead of, my life is over, she chose, what can I learn? How can I grow from this? That pivot is the growth mindset in action.
Awareness is key. But turning that awareness into consistent action, what are some concrete steps people can take?
One really effective technique is using implementation intentions. It's a concept from psychology about making very specific plans. Not just a vague goal like, I'll try to be more growth-minded.
But something more concrete.
Much more concrete. You create an if-then plan. For example, if I start feeling overwhelmed by a difficult task at work, then I will take 5 minutes to brainstorm 3 different approaches before giving up. Or, if my partner criticizes me, then I will ask, what specifically did I do, instead of immediately getting defensive.
So you pre-plan your growth-oriented reaction to a specific trigger.
Exactly. It helps bypass the emotional, fixed mindset reaction in the moment and activates the more strategic, growth-oriented response you planned.
That makes sense. And for parents or families wanting to cultivate this, there was a suggestion about family discussions.
Yes, a really lovely one. Make family conversations, maybe at dinner. Deliberately process-focused, not just outcome-focused. Instead of really asking, how was school? Or did you get an A? Ask questions like, what did you learn today? What mistake did you make that taught you something interesting? And what did you try really hard at today?
Shifting the family value system towards effort, learning from mistakes, perseverance, rather than just results or fixed labels.
Precisely. It makes learning and effort the heroes of the daily story.
So ultimately, it comes down to a choice for each of us. How do we want to look back?
Yeah. Do you want to be polishing regrets, thinking I could have been?
Yeah.
About talents you were too afraid to develop? Or do you want to look back, like Billie Jean King suggests, and say, I gave my all for the things I truly valued? That second path, that requires choosing the growth mindset day after day.
And that leaves us with a final thought to consider. We've talked about how growth thrives on challenge, on effort, on pushing boundaries. But we live in a world increasingly designed for comfort, for ease, for instant gratification via technology. Is our modern environment subtly pushing us back towards a fixed mindset by removing friction? How do we intentionally seek out the necessary challenges for growth when so much around us encourages coasting?
That's definitely something worth reflecting on as you go about your week.
That's today's breakdown. While this discussion cannot replace the book's full text, it can offer a glimpse into its teachings. I hope you found this discussion helpful, and I look forward to sharing more. Let me know what book next you want to discuss.